Witam Państwa ponownie. Jeśli ktoś z
Welcome,
Państwa
ladies and gentlemen,
bankowców z
again.
dużym doświadczeniem
If
jeszcze
anyone
nie
with
zapisał się na
huge
kurs kodowania, to być może powinien to zrobić,
experience
bo
hasn't
są
signed up
takie
for
czasy,
the
że na takich
coding
konferencjach będą się
course,
spotykać
then
głównie
I think it's high
specjaliści
time to
od
do it
jakichś
because
nowych
in the near future I think we will
machine learning,
meet
artificial
here
intelligence,
among the
robo-advisors,
IT specialists,
blockchain,
big
i tak
data,
dalej, i tak dalej.
blockchain,
Teraz
and
będziemy
so on and so forth,
rozmawiać.
artificial
Najpierw
intelligence.
wprowadzające
We
na
will
temat
talk
tego,
about
jak
it.
to robią
But
w Azji,
first,
a oni tam rzeczywiście
we will
potrafią.
introduce you with telling you how they do it in Asia, and they really know how to do it. So for years, they have been ahead of Europe in terms of this technology. And then we will have a discussion panel. I said that maybe in the future we will meet here with IT specialists first, and then in the discussion panel, then we will hear to AI. So please enjoy the fact that we are still meeting in person here. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Grabarczyk, Development Bank of Singapore, is with us. Please come to the stage. He will tell you how they do it in Singapore.
Halo. Dzień dobry Państwu. Nazywam się Adam Grabarczyk.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adam Grabarczyk. I am a representative of DBS Bank, seated in Singapore. What I do there is I am engaged in AI solutions. These are solutions which help us, among other things, service our customers. For example, these are chatbots. As a matter of introduction to our panel, I would like to share with you my experiences, how it looks in Asia and how it looks in the Southeastern Asia, to be precise.
Prezentacja będzie, chciałbym pokazać, jak zastosowaliśmy
I would like to show you how we applied chatbot.
Mniej więcej 2 lata temu bank DBS uruchomił
Around 2 years ago, the DBS Bank introduced the digital bank, DigiBank. It's a totally new platform aimed to enter markets where the bank wasn't present physically, so that we could enter those markets effectively to apply measurable solutions which are adapted to the volume of a given market. And the country which we focused on was India. In this slide, you can see the ecosystem for our chatbot. Our chatbot is called DigiBot. It is in the center, but it is virtual. It doesn't have any visualization. Now, in our center, we have this brain of ours, but it is integrated with all our channels of access. It means that clients that want to contact the bank can use bots in the mobile application. They can use support of the bots in the internet banking or at websites. They can use it before logging in or after logging in. Then they can talk to the bot in an individualized manner. We also have Facebook Messenger bot. We introduced it this year in Singapore. We plan to introduce WhatsApp in India, and we also have solutions basing on the voice. So, for example, Alexa. Alexa, in this respect, looks like a mobile phone with applications. One of the applications that can be uploaded to Alexa is our banking. In general, what can you achieve by using a bot? First of all, the main advantage of this solution is that it understands natural speech. So we had 3 objectives that we wanted to achieve. First of all, to increase the engagement of our customers, to improve their experience in interacting with the bank. We also wanted to transfer the transactions, servicing transactions to bot, all the things that are quite complex, but the bot can do it quickly. We wanted to connect it also with marketing, with context marketing, by enabling the chatbot to enter into cross-sell and acquisition. Natural speech, because we noticed that the customers of the bank, while using mobile applications or internet banking, they have problems with multiple options, with the complex menu, and it is very hard for them to find something. So, while using this interface, they can use their natural speech because the bot is learning. They can mix languages because they very often use Hindi and then suddenly they use an English word. The bot understands it, and with time it is more and more effective. So while contacting bank, the client doesn't have to remember the name of a given product. He or she can explain what they want, and then the bot answers the questions. The bot can say how to open an account, how to file a complaint, or can explain directly what the complaint is borne in mind. Bot also makes it possible to make transactions. First of all, you can check your balance. So this is, it was also possible through text messages in the past, and now we are only speaking, we are talking to the bot, and we can check our balance. We can make easy transactions, for example, transactions between our own accounts or transactions to predefined accounts in other channels. I think that the most interesting function, and it is most widely used, is the possibility of asking questions and finding any kind of transactions. Standard filters that are used in mobile banking or in internet banking are quite limited, and they are not easy to use. Now I can ask, for example, the bot, how much did I spend on transport using Uber, taxis, and so on, and I will get the information classified into categories. I will get the information about all the loans that are registered on my account, for example, that they were registered in my account last month. But the most important thing is that I'm talking like to a human. It's like talking to a human. I don't have to use any codes. I can sometimes use an auxiliary question so that the bot knows what I'm talking about. We are still, the bot is constantly learning, but sometimes the bot is unable to answer your question, and then we of course have to use the help of a human. But now our bot, how our bot functions is the first question is asked, and if the answer is difficult for the bot, so the confidence level is below our benchmark, it will ask another question. It will ask the same question and will ask the client to ask the question in a different manner. And the questions that are asked are sometimes not related to banking. We know that people like to play with bots. They ask them abstract questions, and then bot transfers the client to a human, so that the human verifies if the person is just fooling around with bot or not. Then, when we want to gather some data, we don't have certain data and we want to achieve them, we can ask the bot for them, and so we can use additional questions which are only supplementary. We are introducing an application. I think it is important because the clients who contact bot talk differently to it if if they use application, traditional online website, or Facebook Messenger. So each time the manner of speech of our bot is different. We have also a different offer for wealthy clients and different for other customers, so the bot can adjust to the specific segment so that it is the right manner of speech for a given customer.
Teraz chciałbym tak krótko, bo to jest ciekawy temat, jest dużo.
I think this is interesting, and it is really widely debated. Everyone asks how artificial intelligence works, so I just wanted to show you how its process looks. Everything starts with our client. When our client selects the manner of accessing our bank, and uses natural speech. They choose the channel, for example, Facebook Messenger or application or website. The question is sent to the bot, and we use supervised machine learning. I will explain what it means later. And now the bot has to match the question to the answer that we have prepared earlier. So the bot will give the answer or take a specific action. For example, if the client wants to make a transfer. If the bot is able to do it all, then the bot sends the answer to our client. Here in this slide, the client uses Facebook Messenger. Bot can also use diagrams and graphs. So here we can see a graph in this slide. Sometimes the bot needs to transfer the conversation to live agent. This is visible for the client, and in the background, the process of machine learning is taking place. The bot is learning constantly. We have also a human element there. The machine cannot learn only by itself. We cannot make our bots available totally to our clients because sometimes they use bots just to fool around, just to play with it. So the questions that are actually transferred to our team. This is an annotation team. They make annotations on an ongoing basis, and they check what the questions that the bot could not answer to were, and if the question is not related to banking, then we mark it, and the bot already knows that it is not supposed to answer such questions in the future. But if the question was real and the bot couldn't answer it, then the team deals with it. And if it was a question which the bot actually should have known the answer to, then we know what we should add to our system. And this whole model is then transferred to the whole process of training. And for the new questions, we initiate the crowdsourcing media. For example, when there is a question how to apply for a new card and the bot doesn't know how to answer it, then we go to a company which helps us check it in the market. Crowdsourcing means that we ask a certain number of people how they would answer to this question. It is the same as Google. For example, Google iPhoto. Google recognizes a picture of a dog, and before Google is able to do it, then we really have to feed it with about 100 or 120 different dogs, so that Google can see a logical shape of a dog, and so that it is able to recognize it among other animals. It is the same with the animals. We download tens of and hundreds of thousands of questions and answers, and the possibilities of our bot are really huge, but it needs time to learn. Then there is the training data set. It is connected with new algorithms, and this new question is again directed to our central brain, and so our bot is able to answer the question that it wasn't able to answer to before. So it's learning all the time. We introduce new services, new things, so that we develop ourselves, so that we also have to develop our bot. Now I would like to show you how it looks in practice. We started in India 18 months ago, and now our bot, until the end of September, answered about 4 million questions from our clients. In India, 72% of all questions from customers are serviced by the Digibot. And when it comes to how precise the answers are, then I have to tell you that 85% of the answers do not require any help from humans. In practice, without this solution, we wouldn't be able to roll out this product in other country than India, because in India there is huge population, and this investment is huge. We need to test bots on a huge sample of people. In India, we initiated the bots in mobile banking. In India, actually, we don't have internet banking, we have mobile banking. So when it comes to Singapore, now we have managed 300,000 questions, and actually we are just starting to use it in Singapore. We also tested Facebook Messenger in Singapore. The last country that is live now already is Indonesia. They started in September, and so we have 50,000 questions until now. We use a new language. In India and in Indonesia, we used, in Singapore we used English, and in Indonesia we used the Indonesian language. We plan to enter Hong Kong and Taiwan when it comes to new countries, so that we will use new languages there, for example, traditional Chinese. What are the benefits? Well, of course, Digibot is a measurable solution. We don't have to build up call centers so that to service our customers. It can be used in marketing, in sales, in communication with customers. Each and every conversation can be analyzed, so this data analysis can be performed. We obtain huge amount of information and data every day, and they are analyzed on an ongoing basis. If anything goes wrong, then we know it instantly. For example, when there is no contact to our online banking, or a given card doesn't work, then we know it instantly. Digibot learns quickly. It is available 24 hours a day, 7 days in a week, and it answers complex questions more quickly than a live person. It links to systems very quickly, it reviews hundreds of thousands of reports, and regular agent, a human agent, would take a lot of time to do that. And we'll have to, for example, contact the customer again by mail. Now, the last slide, I wanted to present all the countries that we where we already initiated our bot. And here in the background you can see Hong Kong, where we are not present yet with our bot. But I would also like to share a certain thought with you. What is the difference between a graphical user interface and conversational user interface? Well, the classic challenge which all banks face is the cost of maintaining new internet websites. When they add new menus, when they add new services, they need to prioritize what is to be first. What needs to be addressed to the customer first. It needs time, it needs workload. And in the conversational user interface, the customer tells us only what they want. They don't think where there is the menu they want to use, when there is the function they want to use. They only say, I want to make a deposit of $100 until the end of the month. And if bot doesn't have a ready answer, then it will ask auxiliary questions, but the client doesn't have to think where to find, where to look for the information.
Integration with platforms like communicators, internet platforms, Alexa or Google Home, this is really the future. I think this is the direction it's all going to take. We are taking the load off our clients. Clients no longer have to be trained how to use the bank. They just come and tell us what they want. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Adam Grabarczyk from Singapore Development Bank. Please take your seat in the panel. We have 2 microphones in the room. If you want to participate in this discussion, and I encourage you to do so, don't wait until the end, because the time will be limited. Now, next panelist, Bruno Ferreira, Managing Director of Alior Bank. Mr. Marcin Giżycki, Vice President of the Board, ING Bank Śląski. Mr. Sławomir Grzelczak, Vice President of the Board, BIK. Mr. Ostrowski from mBank. Mr. Maciej Pieczkowski, Director General of ING Bank Poland. In Bank Poland, sorry. 72% of contacts in India through chatbot. My plan for this conversation was a bit different. Not you, no. I wanted to ask people who are in charge of banks in Poland, when will such solutions be introduced on this scale in Poland? Mr. Giżycki. I think it will happen relatively quickly. We are talking about 1-2 years. Yeah, chatbots, I think this is the time perspective, because chatbot itself is not some rocket science technology. If you are talking about simple conversations, we have an internal system in our bank. So all our employees talk to an AI and simplified chatbots inside our bank. So we have quite lots of internal customers using this. We are learning, we are building technologies, we are comparing what you talked about. So the question with the answer, so must be sure that if we put it outside to the outside world, we need to make sure that the answer will be really good. And also we need to build a system to control the quality of conversation, of answers. So within 1 or 2 years, do you mean that we will not have to look at the website or search the websites for the functionalities you need, or rather you just ask the question to the machine? Yes, exactly. The machine or chat will give you a link or will display the piece of website that you need. It will not be, I mean, there will surely be some sort of limitation regarding the subjects you may discuss, but it's not that technologically advanced as it might seem, and I think that many of us are at advanced testing stage. Your bank. Mr. Ferreira, when in Polish market this scale of contacts with the bank be the President Poland? My już tam mamy w banku. Mamy chatbota nie tak bardzo rozwiniętego jak DBS. Mamy, kontaktujemy się z klientami już na żywo. Czyli obsługujemy ich w takim trybie codziennym, więc to już się dzieje.
Na taką skalę. Kiedy na taką skalę?
When will it happen on this scale? Myślę, że bardzo szybko. Rok, dwa.
Maciej Pieczkowski, dyrektor generalny.
Maciej Tyczkowski from InBank Poland. I think I will bet even more. I think I can say 12 months. Not 1, 2 years, much quicker. In Estonia, such solutions are being at the final testing stage. What was interesting in this presentation was that what you've achieved is that we have functionalities for clients looking from the perspective of the organizational needs of the bank, how to increase the cost efficiency. We, on the other hand, we originate from Estonia, so we have a completely different challenge. We achieve the same solutions, but looking through the client's eyes. In Estonia, 35%, during last elections, 35% were cast through remote channels. So we are building functionalities and not in order to cut costs, but because we need to answer the needs of the customer who says that he uses advanced solutions in everyday life, and we as bankers need to supply the similar speed. I don't want to wait for my money. Mr. Pieczkowski from mBank. I mean, will we need websites? Well, I will not bet more than 12 months. In mBank, we are using chatbots in production. It's not voice-based, but it's text chatbots, and it really works in. Yeah, I'm asking about voice. I don't want to type anything. I want to say into the receiver, into the. Is the thing on the other end of the receiver, is it an object or is it a person? Well, I would say that over the next 12 months in Poland, we will not achieve 72% of contacts through bot. When will it happen? Will it ever happen? Do people need that? I think it will happen, but in a longer perspective. If we look at our bank, how we converted into internet, into mobile. Just a few years ago, mobile banking was, we used to call it innovation. Now it's a normal process, nothing unusual there. Our customers, we went over 50% only in July this year, 50% more mobile than internet. So people do need time to ingest all of that. What about you as a customer? Your role is a bit different. Would you feel comfortable talking to a machine? Well, I would like that, but my bank doesn't offer that. Let me tell you about a very interesting discussion with Adam yesterday. We talked over a phone about a communicator they use in China, WeChat. And this communicator, the way it works is that it knows a lot about clients because it's a combine. It's not only for communication, for chats. You can order your shopping through this communicator, your Uber, your taxi. It's an alliance between WeChat and Alipay. And what they've done, as far as I understand, in China, those who communicate through WeChat, they push the banks out of the process, which means that they know more about customers who use this communicator than banks. And as I understand it, banks are only providers of funding in some cases, because not always. And I also imagine that from the structure, the way it is built, WeChat doesn't share with banks customer information. So banks don't have the fuel for machine learning. So they overslept it. Well, I'm not sure. I saw a message in the internet that WeChat that WeChat is quicker than the banking oligopoly in China. Banks didn't want to do that because there was too much risk, so fintech companies took over. So that was the message. I'm not sure if it's true. My responsibility in BIC is to gather information from various sectors. We collect information from ICT, from telecoms, so we can gather information about people, what they use. We also look at insurance services. We have very interesting projects with loyalty programs, how it influences the repayment of loans. We are looking at resentment analysis about the comments on the internet, how this translates into reliability of a company. Do you think it does? No, it doesn't translate, with the exception of the construction sector. That's what we've discovered. And what's my point? Actually, I believe that banks should look where they get their fuel, because if they leave it to fintechs like they did in China, they will not have fuel to discuss with customers. They will only be somewhere in the background. As BIC, we have two advantages. Number one is that having banking information, we can talk to different sectors, like, for example, telecoms, about doing anonymous analyses and then share the results commercially, of course. And the second thing that was mentioned in the speech by KNF is that we provide guarantees for third parties, because if we talk with insurers or telecoms or startups, we check them very thoroughly. And thirdly, we provide standardized data as BIC. We have agreements with banks about the format of information that we provide. We should remember that if fintechs will push the banks away, like they did in China, we encourage you to keep the analysis going, and we see three groups of banks. Number one is those that always test, always try to use it. Sometimes they may not like it, but they go into it. Fortunately, most of them are in the panel. There are also followers who see that others are using it, they do that as well. But there's a third group of banks that ignore it. They don't see the value in the alternative solutions, and I'm afraid that these banks will face problems in the future. Let's come back to digibots. So what answers can't be answered by a bot? So you're a bot, I'm a client. Okay, hi bot. A bot usually has a name. Okay, so how are you? What does bot say? Well, bot likes this kind of questions. So bot, how are you? What does bot answer? could launch it. Well, he says, thank you, I'm all right, I'm fine. You know, we have a chit-chat about weather created by language specialists who create nice chit-chats before we move on to business. But clients very often are trying to have fun with bots. You know, there was a whole question, you know, how you should address the bot. What I think is that the whole debate whether bot should have a gender, which is risky, as it turns out, in practice, because very often bots turn into dating service. Do you have a functionality? Can you have a date with a bot? Bot, what are you doing after work? That's a very, very frequent question, actually. When bot has a women's name, it happens a lot. So what's the bot's answer then? Could you repeat the question? Could you rephrase the question? That's the bot's answer. So there are questions where we don't want to have conversation on. Could you finally ask about the loan? Does bot ever get impatient? No, you didn't program it. No, but the bot draws you into the subjects like banking, deposits. Okay, what if I ask, I want to buy a car? What would be the answer? Well, in Singapore, we've recently introduced a service to sell used cars, and bots is there, so you could have a meaningful conversation about it. The big challenge, I think, is that bots keep developing, and it's not only about question and answer. Very often the customer gets impatient about explaining what he means. He asks a question, he doesn't want to, he's getting impatient, he's using vulgar vocabulary. So then the conversation gets to an area where it's not addressing the question, so we use the sentiment analysis. Bot is trained to recognize this kind of situation. What does bot say? Easy, easy, calm down? Does the voice get milder? No, we are not trying to take this role. Well, bot is not an agony aunt. Then we are calling a man, a real person, to the rescue when the situation gets critical. I'm looking at the room. Are there any people willing to ask questions? Please give the microphone to a person right here. Please have short questions. Hello, Maciej from the Foundation of Testing Financial Education. Will bot sell me a loan, a consumer loan, insured, with mis-selling? So where are the borders of intuitiveness of machinery to protect consumer against buying services and products with this misleading service? Bot doesn't sell products directly. Bot can enable you to file a loan request. If somebody's filing for a credit card, well, bot is not an advisor. It's like mobile banking. Mobile banking will not sell me a loan, and this is the way you should treat bots right now. We are trying to use bots to communicate as a medium of communication which is much more comfortable to use, instead of sending you a link and then all the workload is on you to read the conditions and so on. Will we get there? Will bots be selling loans? Well, it's up to us. If we want to do that, of course, that's possible. But it's a kind of place where we should support the client with filing the application, leading him through the process. If there are some more problems, we'll redirect the customer to an advisor, to an agent. The question is, where does bot stop, and where do we have an ordinary credit risk system? So we are not going towards sales, are we? Where there's a problem of mis-selling. Well, it depends on how you define sales. Mis-selling is, in a way, a conscious decision. So today we can say that mis-selling can happen with an ordinary banking product, even through a website. If somebody decides to provide products without any added value to the customer, then it's the conscious decision of the person who builds the website, and it doesn't matter whether we will have bots or chat or not. The fact that we are talking about ethics of machine, especially when you talk about autonomous cars, how the car should react, how whether it should protect the owner or the other parties. So those ethical discussions in the banking sector, we are not there yet. So we are not discussing it in the context of AI, but this discussion will take place. And then we'll define the level of ethics, how the system should defend itself against wrong behaviors of people who program it. But then the road to this is very, very long to go.
Najważniejszym aspektem
So, Mr. Peczkowski, how should we approach it? I think that it is a matter of being active and passive in communication with the client. I will agree with previous speakers. If a client contacts us actively, then it means he or she has a need to contact us. So it doesn't matter how he contacts us, whether through mobile banking or call center or website. We will answer his question. The client will ask us, will tell us what amount of the loan he needs and so on. So anywhere where we need to answer a question that the client asks to us and addressing their needs, then in my opinion we should use automatic processes. Of course, a different question is whether we should actively encourage the client to buy a product without his intention. Machine learning, artificial intelligence, robo-advisors, and so on and so forth. Do our clients actually need it? Mr. Bruno Ferreira, Managing Director of Alior Bank, do really our clients need this? Or do banks need this? Banks who are afraid of a competition with fintechs and so on, or banks who try to be fintechs and want to decrease their costs and educate the clients that the client must show his need. So this is how the chewing gum was invented, an iPhone as well.
That's a very good question. I would answer in two ways. First, clients are already looking for those solutions, and they are a lot of times not finding them in the banking sector, and that's why they're going to fintechs. So fintechs are out there, and clients are looking for them and using them because they want those types of solutions. Now, if they need those solutions, if clients need machine learning, if they need blockchain, if they need those things, I would say that's not what they need. What clients are looking for, it's a more humanized financial relationship with their providers. So, and interesting enough, what we're finding in the financial sector is that we're going to technology in order to make banking more human, more personalized. So when we say chatbots or when we say artificial intelligence, what we want to do, the goal that we want to do is to be able to serve our clients with the offers that they need at any time they need. We can have the chatbot working 24/7. If the client wants to interact with their bank at midnight on a Friday, that's a shame for him because he could be doing other things, but he can, right? And he can have an answer that is intelligent, that corresponds to his question.
Ale to trochę oznacza, że bank będzie tym bardziej ludzki.
But it means that the bank is the more personal, the fewer persons work there, right?
People have limitations, right? And we cannot have people working 24/7 to serve clients, to answer all their questions. Using technology to do it, I think it's a very intelligent way that we can be closer to our clients and answering their needs, their calls, and being able to offer them what they want. They don't want technology per se, they want to have a personal contact, and we can do that through technology.
Czy kontakt osobisty z czymś, co nie jest...
So a personal contact with a thing that is not a person. Mr. President, how it looks from your perspective? Well, I think that the clients don't think that they need blockchain or artificial intelligence or such things because they have no idea what it is. It is a cool buzzword that everybody uses, but very few people understand how it really works. For example, a blockchain. But they actually need a product or a service which are distributed in this way or secured in this way. So the client needs a service or a product, and we as banks, we think how to how to satisfy this need. So if a client wants to talk about a mortgage at midnight, because he needs that, then he wouldn't be able to do it with a person, a real person, but they can do it through a chatbot, for example. And chatbot can provide a lot of information in this way. And the same is with blockchain. Clients want to be certain that nobody changes the agreement, that there are securities on that agreement. And are you able to assure the clients that this agreement is safe, even though they don't understand the blockchain? I will explain everything to any interested client, but actually 90%, I guess 90% of clients are sure that banks are safe, and they go to a bank because they know it's safe and they don't want to learn anything about chatbots. So will your chatbot explain it to them in the future? I think the clients won't need that, but if they do, yes. Then there is nothing that we don't want to explain to a client. But today, clients also don't ask us questions, what technology we use, what power generators we use in case there is a power breakdown or a blackout. So they are not interested in that. They are interested in products. Maciej Pieczkowski. Yes, I also would like to talk about the need of the client, and I would like to stress that the client has no precise needs of product sensu stricto, because banking is not sexy for an average person. If we want to understand the technology and the products that we need to implement, we should look at other aspects of life, which are the basics for activities of a person in a normal life. So, for example, manner of communication. So, some banks, including us, are paperless because clients sign agreements by text messages. So find a teenager who uses text messages nowadays. They don't use text messages anymore. They use messengers. My son, who is a teenager, says, "Daddy, I have a problem. I am on Facebook. There is a drop. I don't have money that I put in to my on my account yet. What should I do?" So we have to adapt. We have to adapt to the needs of our clients. The client doesn't have the need to talk to chatbot. Sometimes our client needs to buy a given product on a Saturday night, and there we should address the needs of our clients. We talk about customer-centric. We talk of being customer-centric, but from the perspective of the relation between the bank and the client actually doesn't want this relation. This is not his need. But if we want to work 24 hours per day, then we cannot use only humans because we are unable to work this long. And now we are talking about a risk of dehumanization. So is there a risk that people will choose those institutions which offer them contacts with persons and not machines? What do you think? I think there is this risk, but it's good. If people have a choice, then banks and other companies will answer to their needs. I think that mainstream will include automation because we as people want to get things done conveniently and at a low price, and AI will address those needs. But on the other hand, there will always be a niche where people will want to contact directly to a human. As today, there are also niches of that kind in different sectors. But coming back to what you said before, because it was interesting, the fewer people work in a bank, the more personal a bank is. Well, if we think about it today a lot of people work at banks or telecoms, but then when they call us, then for a long time, for a huge part, they read out transcripts, for example, some scripts. So, is it really personal? No. But while talking to a call center, we sometimes feel we are talking to a machine. That's true. So why not automate this part of banking? And leave people only where people actually need personal contact. And Grzegorz Ostrowski, we will talk to you about, because you are managing a data wholesaling company. Big data changes our life very quickly, and is big data a big problem? The latest history shows that there have been a lot of mistakes and errors indicated in this big data. So how effective is the analysis of those data, and what data is needed to the banks if those data were available?
Zaczynając od ostatniej części pytania, jakie dane byłyby
I will answer to the last question. What data are needed if they are available? The simple answer is all of them. We are not the one to decide what we could do with the data. We can ask the computer to do it. The computer can make something of it. But we should also filter it with consent or lack of consent of our customers to process their data for specific purposes. And we as banks and financial institutions are facing new regulations that are going to come into force next year regarding that issue. But it's good because we as customers and as consumers will have the right to decide what can be done or can't be done with our data, and we as banks will have to ensure that this right is satisfied. This will also bring us to a whole new level of managing data management and data processing. We will have to live up to it. What type of data you, Mr. Grzeczak, can provide? What data you can provide when we are talking about banking data and non-banking data, and how can it improve the data analysis? So you're asking about alternative data? Yes, because we all know about banking data. I will give you some interesting examples. For some time we have done analysis of insurance with investment fund, and so we are taking into account how much a given driver, how many accidents a given driver has, and it really translates into the insurance offer that we can give them. And so, for example, in the future, insurance companies can decrease the insurance premiums by 10%, for example, and, for example, sieve out the bad customers, but those who don't have any accidents can enjoy discounts so that they don't have any accidents in the future. People who see benefits there really uses them. And another example concerns telecommunication data. We have a big info monitor, and we can see there telecommunication payments. We can also see different delays that the customers have in paying the bills. And it turns out, because we are thinking, does it influence loans? Does it really influence the way they repay their loans? Well, if they have up to 30 days of delay, then there is not, it is not an issue for the loans. But if they are in delay for more than 30 days, then we really see that if they are in delay for more than 50 days with their bills, they will not repay their loans on time. So you see that banks will need to analyze how the loans and provisions behave. If we know nothing about the client, then we cannot make any forecast. But if we can see how the client pays their bill, then we know how they probably will repay their loan. I would also like to come back to WeChat. Client sees his scoring, and he sees and it answers his question whether he'll get a loan. There are 5 criteria which influence this scoring, and they are very dynamic. For example, social connections. It is probably important whom he contacts, with whom he talks, and what we are doing in BIG, we are also using our scoring. And I encourage you to go on our website and play our game, which we make available there. Because we can see our scoring there. We can see what can we do to maintain it, to improve it, or to worsen it. And besides that, I would also like to talk about transparency and the approach of the young people. They live here and now, and they understand our scoring because it has a lot of graphics, but and actually they are not interested in long regulations and definitions and so on. Mr. Director, and what about your experiences? Can you translate it to the clients with corporate clients? Yes. On our part, our bank this month is launching a bot to service corporate clients as well. But a good example is set by China. Alibaba and Alipay have introduced a bot who supports small business. That is on a platform where companies are selling their products. They do it on this platform. And now, what about maintenance of call center? It's a huge expense that those companies cannot afford. So Alipay and Alibaba have created AliMe. It's a bot who services about 100,000 small enterprises and helps them to sell, to communicate their products. And per month, 4 million people use those bots, and the efficiency of the bot is also measured. There is a Uniqlo network, and the effectiveness of sale is 40%. So 40% of the conversations with the bot end up with a purchase. It shows how the customers, how enterprises can be supported, making technology available to them, which they would never be able to implement themselves. So, just to conclude this debate, I would like to ask at least some of you about maybe 2 or 3, if you can provide 3 most exciting solutions, which, thanks to all this technology turmoil, which is very fast nowadays, have already appeared or will appear in the future. Now, Mr. Pieczkowski in bank? Well, I would bet on blockchain, I will not dwell on that because we talked about it during a lot of conferences. But what we personally implemented, this is what we personally implemented, that is biometric identification, and it is really widely used. When we have no face-to-face contact, then how should we verify a person? Is this person really who he says he is? This technology helps us automatically analyze this client and verify his or her identity. This solution will also be used in other sectors than banking, in all life aspects of the client. Mr. Bruno Ferreira, Alior Bank, the most exciting solution which already have been implemented or will be in the future?
Artificial intelligence. There are a lot of things that are very exciting, and the advancement of the technology, it's amazing. Recently in Japan, a team of scientists introduced a book for a literary competition. And the thing is that the book was written by artificial intelligence.
A na polskim rynku?
Just to finish the example, so the
Dokończę tylko mój.
And that technology is available to Polish banks as well, in Poland. To do that, banks need to open up to the world, need to communicate with fintechs, need to connect with them. And I think that is the technology that we need, and that will make us be able to reach out those advancements that are out there. And very soon we'll have news of that in Poland.
Pan Marcin Giżycki, ING.
Mr. Ryzycki, ING. I believe in simple things which create value here and now, and that are felt by the client, that are seen by the client right away. So, for example, today I can pay for this or that, and I want to do it automatically by one click. These are very simple things who based on all those technologies, but they are here and now, and they are very easy, very simple. This is all that we do in terms of pre-approved loans. So a client can can file for a loan by one click, and they don't have to file a very complex and long application. So this whole technology can be used to prepare simple solutions, because our clients are not interested in complex solutions.
Maybe 5% of the complex solutions. Maybe 5% of our clients are interested in the complex solutions. This bank should help people in their everyday lives. Well, there's a whole separate issue how the regulators will handle this tsunami, technological tsunami. So we will not have this discussion now about possible mistakes. Thank you very much for the discussion. Thank you all for the discussion, gentlemen. At the end of this panel, small businesses came up. We'll talk about it. We'll continue on this subject after lunch. Thank you.